Welcome to Dakota Preparedness. Today's video is on hygiene, and the thumbnail is not clickbait. Having proper hygiene can be a life-saving function. In the American Civil War, there were some 400,000 to 500,000 casualties in the joint armies, and it's estimated that 2/3 of those was caused by disease. Only 1/3 was from actual battle casualties. In the recent earthquake in Haiti, there was a reported 531,000 cases of cholera. Maintaining proper hygiene is critical. It prevents skin infections such as athlete's foot, ringworm, impetigo, scabies. It can prevent diarrhea, respiratory transmissions of cold and flu. Contaminated water can cause cholera, dysentery, and typhoid fever. And foodborne diseases will cause E. coli and salmonella. It can also result in dental problems and parasitic infections such as lice and pinworms, and exacerbate existing chronic conditions. Here are some essential hygiene functions you need to maintain during a long-term disaster and how to manage them with limited resources. Number 1 and number 2 is hand washing and dental hygiene care. Now, fortunately, this can be handled in a very elegant way using either an aquatainer with a spigot or a water brick with a spigot. This will allow you to wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water and clean for at least 20 seconds after using the toilet, blowing your nose before and after cleaning wounds, and before preparing or eating food. The aquatainer with a spigot or a water brick with a spigot is an elegant solution to these. Now, if water is scarce, you might want to put a pan underneath the spigot and collect the wastewater so that you could use it for things such as flushing toilets if you have a septic tank. You can also use alcohol-based hand sanitizer, at least 60% alcohol in a pinch, but it's not a substitute for proper soap and water hand washing. In addition, if you do it too frequently, it can crack your skin. Number 3 is bathing. While regular showers might not be possible, you still must maintain a clean body. A very elegant solution for this is the Camp Plus, which is a on-demand water heater using a 20-pound propane tank, and I've made a separate video on that. Also, if need be, there are solar showers. Now, I have found them not to be really that effective, but they'll get the job done. And one of the things to keep in mind with showers, if water is scarce, you can do what we called in the Navy a Navy shower, which is simply that you wet down for 5 seconds, turn off the water, soap up, and then turn the water back on for 20 seconds and rinse off so you can conserve water. Another way is simply to have a sponge bath or a basin bath. The modern submarines, they have full showers now, but I understand in days past that they were not able to take showers on the older submarines. They would just take a sponge or a basin bath. Now, if all else fails, we have a stock tank from Farm and Tractor, which you would do a cowboy bath out of. You'd simply fill it up partway with cold water, heat up some warm water. I would suggest not boiling water for safety. And then you warm it up to where you are satisfied and you do a bath in it. Or you could do the same thing with a bathtub in your house. Now, number 4 is toilet needs. And this actually can be quite a complicated subject. Now, an age-old solution for this was latrines. I can remember back in Boy Scout camp days, they used latrines back in the 60s. Now, another approach which has shown the advance in technology is compost toilets. There is a plethora of compost toilets where a great deal of engineering has gone into it, and also you have price ranges from $100 to thousands of dollars. And finally, there's an improvised toilet. When we first got started, we bought a couple Lugaloos and clicked off that on the checklist of preparedness. But today, I would suggest, after looking at all these compost toilets and so on, that you want something stable. You want something that's economical. And you want something that's comfortable and can be mobile. So actually, I would submit that a ready solution is a bedside commode from the company Drive as an example. Also, I can remember as a young teenager going to visit a great aunt, and we asked her, "Why is that porcelain jar on the floor in your bedroom?" And she turned to my dad and she says, "You need to explain to them what a thunder jug is." Well, he explained to me that the porcelain jug was no longer in use, but prior to indoor plumbing, you would use the thunder jug or urinal to urinate at night, and then in the morning take it out to dispose of it. So they make urinals today. Now, we should, I would submit, in a long-term disaster, take a page out of the permaculture people who want to process human waste into manure. Now, I'm not quite ready for that. It seems like an awful advanced practice. So what I would suggest is that we take a page out of their basic approach, and that is to segregate the two, to have one a bedside commode or a urinal for urine, and then have a separate one for your feces when you defecate with your poop. And this allows you, according to the permaculture literature, that you can then take the urine and mix it 5 parts with water, 1 part urine, and then you can dispose of it just about anywhere. Now, I would go to the north end of our property to dispose of it, but it can be done harmlessly and it won't attract pests and so on if you mix it up 5 parts water, 1 part urine. Now, they have, within the permaculture literature, all sorts of detail on how you can transfer the solid waste matter into fertilizer. But I'm not ready for that. So I think I would take their approach of when you dispose of the solid material, that you cover it with fire camp ash or lime or just leaves and let it air dry and dissolve naturally. And once again, I would find a place on the north end of our property to do that. Now, a lot of attention is paid to what you should use for toilet paper. Well, if you have a woman in your life, I suggest you have lots and lots of toilet paper. Now, we are fortunate to have a septic tank, so even if the power goes out, you can still flush it with like a gallon of water. It will cause a vortex just like you would if you used the tank above the toilet. But you want to have plenty of toilet paper on your hands to keep your wife happy. The sad day when the toilet paper is exhausted, then we have to resort to extreme measures. So, a ketchup bottle or mustard bottle to one man is used for containing those items. However, it can be a bidet. Another approach, and this would truly be extreme, is the Roman approach. The Romans would use a rag to clean their downsize and then rewash the rags, and that could be done too. Now, one tip that was made, even if you have the luxury of a septic tank, is you want to dispose of the toilet paper by burying it, or I guess even in theory burning it, but rather than have it be received by the septic tank, because you need to service those 5 to 6 years, every 5 to 6 years, and that may not be available. The fifth and sixth area is washing your clothing and your bedding. Let's not forget that. This can be simply done in a wash basin or a 5-gallon pail. It can be aided by having a plunger for agitation. Now, this can be done. I personally, on the El Camino, the 500-mile hike in France and Germany, my hiking buddy and I had only 2 sets of clothes. The clothes that we wore for the day, then we would take a shower, put on our clean clothes that was in our pack, and then we would hand wash that day's clothing. And sometimes we had a clothesline, and sometimes you just threw it on the back of your bed and hope that it dried out during the night. So this will work, and we would just use simple bar soap to soap it up prior to agitating the clothing, and then rinsing it off and squeeze drying it. So this could be done with your clothes in a long-term emergency, and also with your bedding. Now, area 7 is that of rodents and pests, and naturally we all know the admonition not to have any standing water if you want to keep the mosquitoes away. And with rodents, you need some sort of mechanical device to capture them. The glue traps have their advantages and disadvantages, but I think that eventually that supply would run out. So I think the mechanical approach is better. Also, I'm here to tell you, we had a cat, and that cat was the apex predator for mice and rodents. So having a cat around would be a good thing. The 8th area, which is extremely important, is disposing of trash. Now, there's some basic approaches to this. One is minimize the waste generation. During a disaster, focus on repairing and reusing items whenever possible. This reduces the amount of trash that needs to be disposed. Also, if it's a true long-term emergency, you're not going to be going to the big box store bringing more stuff home. Separate biodegradable waste, food scraps, and yard scraps from non-biodegradable waste such as plastics and metal. This allows for easier and safer food disposal. Some of the things you may find helpful is a compost barrel for your kitchen where you put scraps such as eggs, and you really shouldn't be wasting too much food, but any sort of food items in there. And then that would be transferred to a waste tumbler. Also, a can smasher will decrease the space that you need from soda drinks. And then, so you're going to have certain items that you're going to reuse, such as spaghetti jars, plastic butter containers. You want to save those. You're not going to have ready access to replacing those in a truly long-term emergency. Have your compost tumbler with the biodegradable items, which that can be put into the garden to help it as a fertilizer. And then finally, with what's left, you'll have to find a burial pit or burn it. Now, there's a lot of issues with burning it, so you may want to simply bury it, and you need to have at least 6 to 9 inches on above the trash burial site. So I know these are not the most fascinating subjects, but they're vitally important. They're vital that you implement proper discipline and control in these 8 areas of hygiene to prevent diseases. If you found this video helpful, please click like and subscribe. It helps the channel and it helps the community. Be prepared.